The Radical. Fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brooks Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brooks Show on this Saturday night. Sorry, it's a little late. But we got the show rolling. We are here. It looks like I was summoned here by Catherine. All right, Catherine, your summons worked. All right. If any of you are on Twitter, for some reason I'm having a little problem with Twitter right now. If you go on Twitter and just let people know that the show is on, just use hashtag Yaron Brooks and let people know it's on. That'll, I'm sure, help get some additional people listening live, which is always good. Catherine is in the house. Catherine is responsible today for the Super Chat and getting us going on Super Chat. Two big topics today. We're going to talk about sports. Is it a value? Why is it a value? What's the point of being a fan? Isn't this is this rational in any sense? How, why? What's the point? And then 3 movie reviews. 2 for which I was paid, kind of. Second one, kind of. One, just because I watched the movie today, I went to see Top Gun. So, Top Gun Maverick or whatever it's called. So the new Top Gun movie. So I will have comments on Top Gun, the movie as well. So 3 movie reviews: Top Gun, A Bronx Tale, and the Star Trek movie number 1. So those are the 3 movies that we will be talking about. I'm not going to talk about Top Gun 1986, partially because I haven't seen it in a long, long time. Partially because I think, anyway. So that is the program. Why is this? Why do I have this open? Okay, we're going to close this down. All right. You all know about Super Chat. It's a way to support the show. It's a way for you to ask questions. $20 or up, get priority. Catherine is here to make sure we get the $600, $650, $600? I don't know. $600, $650 goal. So somebody should get us started just so we get something on the board in terms of our goals. I think we've raised the goal to $650 because of inflation. So here's where we are so far for the people in the chat. They can see. Let's get rolling. As some of you know, earlier this week I flew to Boston, spent a lot of money on a ticket to go see the Celtics play the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals. I've been a Celtics fan on and off over the years. It really has been on and off since the mid-1970s. So that's a long time. God, that's a long time. But I'd never been to a finals game. I don't think I've ever been to a playoffs game. So for my birthday, I bought the ticket and went and had a fantastic time. So part of the question is why? Why would you do that? What's the value that one gets from experiencing sports? What's the value that one can get from that? I'm also a baseball fan, again, on and off, kind of fluctuates over the years. I'm a fan of the Boston Red Sox, and seen a lot of baseball games, been to a lot of baseball stadiums over the years. I always love going to baseball games. It's always incredibly enjoyable and fun, even when I'm not really backing the team. I went to a lot of Anaheim Angels games when they played in Anaheim. I think what are they called? Los Angeles Angels now or something? Back in the day. So being to baseball games, I sometimes enjoy football, not so much in recent years. As the violence involved, and we'll talk about violent sport today as well, and you can ask me about that if you want. We'll talk about that as well, about as football, it's become evident that people suffer real damage brain damage. It's become less appealing. I've never been to a live football game, and I've stopped watching it on TV. But I regularly watch basketball. The Celtics, I don't watch anybody else. And it's sometimes, again, on and off kind of over the years, I'll watch baseball. But I particularly like watching baseball live. Live is particularly valuable, I think, or enjoyable when it comes to baseball. So, I mean, it's a valid question. What is it about sports that makes it so appealing? And indeed, sports is huge. I mean, it's huge globally. If you think about soccer, football around the world. Of course, I played football. I played soccer in the U.S., in Israel. I played basketball. What other sports have I played? Have I played any? Tennis? I like watching tennis once in a while. I enjoy watching soccer, but only like the World Cup and things like that. So I'm not a regular soccer somebody who watches soccer. I love the Olympics. I love watching the Olympics. So in normal times, I watch both the regular Olympics and then some parts of the Winter Olympics when it's not in China during COVID. So I watch a lot of sports, or have over my lifetime, probably less today than in the distant past. But everybody does. That is, sports seems to be universal. Any country you go to, they have their favorite sports. Where most of the world, it's soccer, football for them. A lot of the world loves basketball, particularly I'd say over the last 30 years since Michael Jordan. The world has become enamored with basketball. Basketball is huge, for example, in China, and that's a whole other topic. But in Europe, basketball is big. In England, cricket is big. Rugby in certain parts of the world. I mean, they're all over the world. Sports is a big deal. A huge number of people, billions of people, follow sports regularly. Boxing, lots of other sports. And so part of the question is why? Why is sports so popular? Is there something legitimate there? And what I think can a rational person get out of sport that is hard and almost impossible to get in particular, I'd say, in our modern culture. And it is interesting that sports is a phenomenon of the 20th and 21st century as fanhood. I mean, I'm sure it existed before that. I know it existed before that, but on a much narrower scale. It's a phenomena of, brace yourselves, but it is a phenomena of capitalism. There is no sports on the scale and the scale and the number of people engaged in it and watching it without capitalism. Capitalism gives us the wealth, the time. Capitalism buys us huge amounts of time. So capitalism buys us time and wealth to be able to practice sport, to be able to engage in sport, and of course to be able to watch sport and to be entertained by sport. So it is a modern phenomena. It would not, the world of sports as we know it today would not be recognizable, I think, in the 19th century, certainly not in the 15th century. I mean, who had the time, who had the ability, who to spend money on this, to make it possible for professionals to be professionals at it, to engage in it. I mean, you worked, you struggled, you barely survived, you somehow got through, you muddled through life. There was no time. There was no time for this stuff. For sports, but it's very much this phenomena of capitalism, phenomena of wealth, phenomena of success, phenomena of free time. The fact that all of us can work, we create enough wealth, and we have free time, and with that free time, we purchase a product that then provides income to all these, call them entertainers, athletes, professional athletes, who then provide us with the values, with the thrills that sport engages in. So, again, very much a phenomena that could not exist without capitalism, without wealth creation, without the kind of market economy that the world has embraced over the last 200 years. So, and it's also, I think, well, we'll get to that. So, what is it? What is it that sports provides us? What value does sports give us? Why are we so engaged in this? And let me just say here that I owe a lot of what I know or what I think about sports, or even the focus on it, but to the work of Tara Smith, who has done a number of talks on sports and the value of being a fan and what sports represent. I actually was a participant in a seminar that Tara helped organize at Oxford University with a group of Oxford professors, and it was 3 objectivists. It was Alan Gotthelf, the late Alan Gotthelf, Tara Smith, the philosopher from the University of Texas in Austin, and a friend, and myself. And then, with us were a number of professors, philosophy professors, grad students, postdocs at Oxford University, and we kind of spent a weekend talking about sports and philosophy. And it was a blast. So a lot of what I have to say about this comes from that seminar. So what is the value of sport? What does sport represent? Well, first, it is one realm in our existence where we can observe just people being unbelievably effective at what they do. We see talent on display, extraordinary talent on display, in activities that most of us know something about, have engaged in ourselves, and therefore can appreciate the level, the skill, the ability of these people, because we've all thrown a basketball at a basket and know what it takes. We've all sprinted. We've all kicked a ball. We've all tried to hit a pitch, at least a little bit. All of us had some experience in physical reality, in moving, in engaging with the world, in a physical sense. And here are people who have mastered doing it. They've mastered dribbling the ball and shooting the basket. They've mastered controlling a ball with their feet, their legs. They can run nonstop without getting breathless, or sometimes they do get breathless, but huge distances. We can actually see people be unbelievably good at what they're doing. And while there's no question there is some biology reflected here, there's certain body type, certain, ability to, certain size of heart, maybe ability to absorb oxygen. Who knows? There are a lot of physiological, ingrained genetic reasons why certain people are good athletes and others are not. But we also know that these people have worked unbelievably hard to get to where they are. They have practiced. They have, if you watched Phelps, if you've seen any documentaries on Phelps, the greatest swimmer in history, who's got more medals than anybody in history, and you watch the routine, the regime, the discipline, the hard work, it's astounding. Or if you know anything about Michael Jordan and how hard he worked, how hard he practiced. in order to get as good as he became. And of course, it's not just hard work. It's also the mental toughness, the focus, the concentration, the ability to deal with the nerves of the moment, the ability to rise to the occasion of an important play. I mean, Michael Jordan, of course, was famous for being able to shoot that, take that shot right at the end and beat the buzzer and win the game with one final shot, right? Not only the willingness to take the shot, but the focus and the mental focus to be able to do it. And then there's the whole mental aspect of just getting into shape and staying focused and practicing and being willing to sustain the pain and the efforts and the energy required, the sustained energy required in order to get to be as good as these athletes are. And all of that is unbelievably admirable. And you can see it in athletes, and you can see it in many athletes, because it's not just at the very top. You could admire, most professional athletes, because almost all of them are unbelievably good at what they do. And it's today almost the only place where this kind of admiration for skill, mention this, remind me that there is a scene in the movie Bronx Tale that I'm going to talk about that undermines this, which we'll talk about. They make a huge amount of money and nobody cares. I think LeBron James, somebody said, just became a billionaire. Nobody cares because he's so good, and we can see he's good. So it's the one area in modern life where there is no guilt, there is no shame in admiring success, in admiring ability. Where else do you see it? Everywhere else, you're supposed to resent the person who's been successful. Everywhere else, their success is at your expense. Nobody argues that sports is at my expense, that LeBron James making a lot of money is somehow at my expense. Nobody argues that. So it's a space in which we can admire greatness, in which we can admire achievement in ways that we are not allowed to because of altruism, because of anti-capitalism, in almost any other field. Maybe, as Jennifer says, maybe in movies. But even then, there's a certain resentment, their lifestyle, their paparazzi. It's not the same attitude towards athletes. It's just something about, because with athletes, first of all, again, because we've tried to do what they're doing, and we know how good they are relative to ourselves, greatness is self-evident, or not self-evident, obvious to people, and it's universal. People everywhere around the world have thrown a basket at a basketball, and they know how good LeBron James is. They just see him play. Oh, my God. I don't know anybody could do that. That's amazing. So he makes money? Cool. Yeah. Keep doing it because it's entertaining for me to see. So one important aspect of sports, one important aspect of being a sports fan is the ability to admire great achievement in a physical realm, but you know that nothing, because we're mind-body, nothing is purely physical. Physical, mental, you just see greatness in front of you. And let me just say, I don't care what an athlete's politics is, just like I don't care what an actor's politics is. I'm admiring his ability at basketball, and I respect his ability at basketball. And unless he's a evil, murdering SOB, I don't really care what they say about politics. Who cares? I don't care about any celebrity says about politics, about philosophy, about anything. What I care about is their abilities on the court, and I can enjoy that. The same with actors. I mean, I did not restrain myself from going to see the Top Gun or enjoy Tom Cruise because Tom Cruise is a crazy Scientologist, and Scientology is an evil ideology. So I'd rather just not know what the politics of the person is. I'd rather not know anything about their personal life, anything about their politics, and just go watch them do what they do well. Right? So reason number one, I think that's enjoyable, is this admiration of excellence, of ability. Note that in a healthier world, in a world that had robust romantic art, in a world that in its art had real heroes, had depictions of men of ability, of achievement, of success, I think sports would be less. I think much of the enjoyment we get from sports, it comes from the fact that we don't have any other avenues in which to enjoy and to celebrate the heroic. Sports, in a sense, fills in for the absence of romanticism, for the absence of romantic art. It fills in for something that we don't even know we're missing. Now, it's a shame in a sense, because romantic art is deeper, more impactful, more life-changing, and more consciousness-changing, more consciousness-altering in the sense of shaping and stylizing, in Ayn Rand's words, your consciousness. Sports can't do any of that. Sports is not metaphysical. Art is. But in the sense of inspiring us, in a sense of allowing us to experience what greatness is, what heroism is, what success is, what achievement is, what perfection is, it serves that purpose. And it serves that purpose brilliantly. It's just sad, in my world at least, it's sad that we don't have the better alternative, which is art, which is aesthetics. And even if we do, because you can enjoy the art of the past, and there's a lot of good art in the past, we are not taught how to enjoy it. Art requires a little bit of engagement. It's not like sports where you can pretty much be passive and enjoy it. So we're not trained to enjoy art. So we got sports instead. And I think sports is not as good, and it's not as valuable. It's not as enjoyable or as powerful or as moving or as, again, epistemologically important. And that's, that's the world in which we live. We live in a world which we have to accept a second-rate substitute for real heroism, for real romance, for real drama. Because if you think about sports, much of what we enjoy about sports, and this is my next point, is the drama. Who's going to win? In a basketball game, it takes, back and forth. And there's a drama. Who's going to shine today? Who's going to be the star? Who's got an on day? Who's off? What are the particular parameters happening right now? Just like a play or a movie. It's just a play or movie, intentional. The drama is intentional. The drama is to make a point. In sports, it's not. There's no intent. And again, this is why sports is inferior to art. Not as good, right, as art. But it's what we got. So we enjoy it for the efficaciousness, for the achievement, and for the ability to achieve and be efficacious and enjoy it without the guilt associated with so much of achievement in our culture and our society. We get some of the values we can get from art, the appearance of a hero, the drama of success, of achievement, the hard work involved in achievement. We can get that from sport, where we don't have enough of that in art. Sports allows us to affiliate with a particular team. This is part of what being a fan is, with particular individuals who we might like or we might have affinity for some reason, or a team that we might have an affinity for some reason. Now, teams are not good guys and bad guys, but we can pretend they are. We can project onto them our value system. We can project onto them what we'd like them to be. It's a kind of a fantasy game. Particularly when we're young, we form certain attachments to certain teams because we watch them when we're young and we get excited by their play. And as a consequence, we form a certain emotional attachment to them. And that emotional attachment is basically to me, for example, the Celtics and the Red Sox represent, I've chosen them because when I was young, they entertained me. If I had lived not in Boston when I was a teenager, but I lived in Philadelphia, my attachment would be completely different. I'm glad it's Boston because these teams have had enormous success and therefore it's been a lot of fun. But I happen to live in Boston. I happen to watch the Celtics and the Red Sox when I was a kid. I formed that attachment. That attachment is now associated with positive memories, but it's also associated with a certain role that I've given them. They represent in basketball and in baseball the good guys. Everybody else, in particular the Yankees and the Lakers, are the evil bad guys. Now, they're not. I know that. It's a game. It's play. It's fantasy. But it's a safe way for me to project good guys, bad guys, and let them have it at it. And when the bad guys win, you justifiably get a little depressed. Don't take it too seriously, right? But you get a little, because the bad guys won. You're never happy when the bad guys win. And when your guys win, you're ecstatic because the good guys won. So sports allows you to create your own drama, to create your own story. Now, you don't get to decide who the actors within the drama are going to be. Those are decided by the sports franchises. But you get to adopt them. You get to embrace them. And you get to, root for them. Now, this rooting for them, this being a fan of a particular team, is an expression and an experience of valuing. You value a particular team. You experience emotionally what that means. So in that sense, sports fanhood teaches you how to be a valuer. The massive emotional benefits of being a valuer. And what it means when you lose a value and the team loses it. You tie your emotions to this value, and it teaches you something about how you respond and how it works. So they are of value to you, and you get to experience valuing them. You get to experience their successes and their failures, their ups and their downs. And it's fun. You get to track them. It's like collecting stuff. You get to know who the players are. You get to know something about who they are and what their struggles are, what they're good at, what they're bad at. And you create, it really is an opportunity to create a whole universe, a whole world around us. And as a consequence of that, it can be incredible fun. Whether they win or they lose, it's fun because you get to experience again what it means to value something. And you get feedback on that experience. So, these are some of the reasons I enjoy sports. I've talked about this before in the context of the Olympics. The Olympics is particular focus on an individual efficaciousness. One of the things I like about basketball and baseball is the contest between teams, or tennis, the contest between individuals. It's the contest between them. What I love about them is the teamwork necessary in soccer, in basketball, in baseball to some extent, is the necessary teamwork, the way the pieces work together. I love teams that work together beautifully and well. You discover that in spite of what the commentators say about always being selfish, always being selfless, complete misuse of those terms when they describe sports, what you see is how the interests of the individual to win are consistent with him being a great team member, that is, playing to the strengths of the team so that they can win. If victory is your goal, then sometimes making the pass and not trying to score yourself is the selfish strategy. And a team that integrates that well, that plays like a team, that has a strategy, not just individual players playing by themselves, is amazing to watch. One of the things I enjoy about these Celtics is they play fantastic team basketball. The Warriors usually play fantastic team basketball. It seems like right now in the finals, basically it's a one-man show with the Warriors, and it's pretty amazing. I don't know if you've seen Steph Curry play, but he is truly an amazing athlete. The things he can do with the basketball, his ability to score from pretty much anywhere in the court, his speed when he approaches the basket, just stunning. And when I saw him live, to see him do what he did, whoa! I mean, what he could do with the basketball was just stunning. So it's always fun, even in an opposition player, somebody you're supposed to hate, being able to enjoy and being able to appreciate and admire the skill that is involved is truly amazing. So it is indeed a lot of fun. Super enjoyable. Team lose or wins. You've had fun through the drama of it. And that emotional roller coaster is the experience of having values at stake, right? It's not values in a sense remote. It's not values over there. The thing about sports is when you take it seriously, it's values being fought over right now, and you get to experience it. Again, the ups and the downs. It's not theoretical. It's not an abstraction. It's very much a concrete in front of you, very much real. So I think if you want to, those of you who enjoy sports, I think it's a great way to connect to your emotions. I think it's a great way to connect to your values. I think it's a great way to experience your emotions, to experience the ups and downs. I just think it's a healthy thing to be doing, particularly if you're not very attached to your emotions. This is a good way to get attached, and then maybe take that experience of valuing in sports and then go to a museum with that experience, with that frame of mind, with that attitude of seeking values, of seeking things to love, to attain, to achieve, and finding art that really has a powerful emotional impact on you, like a sports team can have. All right. That's, for now, what I have to say about sports. Let me quickly go over. Yeah, let's. I'm just going to look for some of the sports questions. So Shazbot says, I sometimes enjoy watching highlight reels of great sports moments, but I can't sit through an entire game. Too repetitive and much less fun than actively participating in a game. Yeah, there's no question that playing sports is this super fun. It's being efficacious physically. It's experience that efficaciousness. It's being, it's the competition. It's enjoyable competition. It's just fun, particularly if you're even a little bit good at something. Engaging in sport activity is fantastic, and unfortunately, my body is too weak, and my back is too bad, and I'm getting too old to actually engage in sport myself. But I used to, and I used to love it. From racquetball to basketball to pretty much to soccer. I loved playing soccer. To pretty much anything, I loved it. Yeah, and I enjoy watching highlight reels, and I enjoy watching games, but I don't watch games that are not my team. I don't watch sports when it's not my team. This attachment to the team, this idea that the team is your value, is a value to you, that is a driving force of this. Just sports per se, some people just enjoy sports, just the achievement, just the ability. But what really makes sports special, I think, from an emotional perspective, is the attachment you have, and it's a conscious attachment. And look, I could decide tomorrow, I'm not going to watch the Celtics ever again. I don't care. I've done that pretty much with football. It wouldn't really alter my life in a big way. I miss that fun that I have when I experience it, but I do it consciously. It's a chosen value. Now, the Celtics, in a sense, is chosen and not chosen because it's a accident of living in Boston when I lived, but it's chosen that I continue to follow them. So I like rooting for somebody if I'm going to watch sports. Watching sports neutrally, I can. And then I can watch a whole game. And I love going, this is the point I was going to make, I love going to baseball fields. I love going to see live baseball. And partially it's the atmosphere. It's just the stadium's always beautiful. The ballpark's always beautiful. It's very calm. While it can get intense, particularly in the ninth inning, if a game is close, there's a certain calmness to it. The excitement kind of ebbs and flows in a baseball game. There's just something beautiful about it, and of course, baseball itself, I love, particularly for the idea of this combat, if you will, between a pitcher and a batter. This one-on-one kind of challenging and challenges, and both the mental and the physical strategy and challenge that it represents. I love that confrontation of one batter, one pitcher, one-on-one. I think it's fabulous. All right, let's see. Let's see. Okay, nothing there. Yeah, let's take this one. Lyman asks, on mental competitions like poker, esports, I don't know what esports is, etc., analogs to sports, Rand wrote critically of chess. Can admiration and enjoyment of Magnus Carlsen playing chess be rational? Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly can. I think she wrote critically about chess in a context of, dedicating one's life to chess, dedicating one's whole thought process to chess, and at the same time, in a sense, being and that helping one stay detached from reality, and not connected to reality, and not connected to not just one's life, but what's going on in the world. And but I think if you can, as a fan, enjoy it and enjoy the skill, the mental skill involved, absolutely, it's harder because even though I played a little bit of chess, I can't really appreciate, the play of Magnus Carlsen. I have no tool to appreciate it. I appreciate Steve Jobs. I appreciate great entrepreneurs because I can see the benefit I get from them. And I appreciate LeBron James because I've shot at basketball and I can see him do it. But chess is on a different level of abstraction. And it's much harder for me to truly appreciate what great chess players are doing. By the way, I love that TV show about the girl who plays chess. I forget what it's called, but it was fantastic. I really loved it, particularly the ending, the end. I mean, there was a middle where I thought, ooh, where's this going? But it went in the right direction. It was fantastic. I did a show about it at the time, so it was a great chess show. Queen's Gambit, thanks you, Ian. Queen's Gambit was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Let's see. Cook says, professional sports often does not get enough credit for discoveries and innovations in areas like medicine and film technology that comes as a result of lots of science and business goes in sport. Absolutely. I think the big innovations in sports are in things like sports medicine, in fixing knees, fixing elbows, in what do you call it? In training, in how to optimize your athleticism, optimize your abilities, what kind of training and diet, and all these kind of things. I think sports has contributed a huge amount to our knowledge. Let's see. Catherine Mendez says, what position do you play in soccer? I played striker and right wing. I was a right wing. I was actually pretty good. I was fast and I was strong, and it was perfect for a right wing. So I loved running down that wing, getting the ball and just running with it and then crossing it over. It was a lot of fun. So I played. When I played most of my life, I grew up in Israel, and in Israel there was no soccer fields for kids to play on. There were no teams. So you played on a basketball court. You played in the street. Most of my soccer I played in my life, I played in the street. And cars would come and we'd run off with the ball, and we'd go back and we'd put stones, would be goals, and we'd play with anything, with any kind of ball. It was rare that we actually played with a real soccer ball because nobody could afford one. The only time I played real soccer was when I came to America, 2 years in America in 8th and 9th grade. And suddenly I played on a field, and suddenly I was good because while in Israel I was average, in America I was really good. Average in Israel at those days was really good in America. So I got to play my high school team. I was in junior varsity as a freshman in high school, but I was going to make the varsity team the next year if I'd stayed in America. And I played in a soccer league. So off season, I played in 8th grade in my school soccer team. And suddenly there were big fields. I was a much better player because I didn't have great ball control, but I could run and I was strong. So I could be a good right winger where I could not be a good small court dribbler, right? Let's see. Jemmy says the NBA has been rigged playoff games for better ratings outcomes since ratings plummeted when Jordan retired. Are you aware of this? No, I'm not aware of this, and I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It's if you actually watch the game, I don't see it rigged. I think the better teams win, so Not aware of it. Don't believe it. All right. All right. So I think that's all the questions we had on sport. Somebody did ask about boxing yesterday, so I wanted to answer that quickly. Do I think of boxing as a sport? Look, I think it's a sport. It's not a sport I like. I don't like mixed martial arts, the kind of, what do they call the fighting in the ring. I don't like violent sports. I don't think violence is something that should be celebrated even as a sport. You know, wrestling, I get. It's skill without shedding blood. But any sport that results in brain damage, as a feature, not as a bug. Any sports that results in bloodletting as a feature, not a bug, I think is problematic. And I don't enjoy it. I don't watch it. I don't, particularly, by the way, and this might sound sexist, I think it's horrible, the idea of women's boxing, women's fighting. It's uninteresting, and it's just horrific. And I've stopped watching football as a consequence, because so many people get brain damage. And I'm sorry, I liked football, but I don't think the league is doing what it could do to protect the players for a variety of marketing reasons. And I don't think the audience obviously cares enough about the players. So I've stopped basically watching football. You know, maybe I'll watch the Super Bowl, but I don't watch it regularly. But so I don't like violent sports. You know, again, if they just hitting each other as move to place like football was, but the intent is not, and you're not doing damage to the other person on a regular basis, then I like it. Then that's fine. But if it's shown that you're actually doing damage, then I don't buy. Then I don't like it. I think it's wrong. Okay, there's another question on sports that I missed. How did I miss it? Let's see. Oh, Justin. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize it was about sports. Sorry. Yes. Okay, Justin asks, do you think mass hysteria plays a significant part in people's love for spectator sports, and is that a problem? I don't think it's mass hysteria. I think it's tribalism. There's no question that sports brings out tribalism in people. People are already oriented towards the tribal, and this results in sports hooliganism. It results in people being, clinically depressed when the team loses, and violent because of sports, and hate, but really hate the opposition team where there's actual violence between groups. I think it brings out that tribal mentality that unfortunately so many people have. And this just cultivates it and brings it out and makes it. It's one of the things that I think is unattractive about soccer, is that in many parts of the world it's become this tribal thing about your soccer team. It goes beyond just being a fan. Your whole identity, your whole life is tied up around this, and it becomes an obsession. And I think that is not good. And, I don't know enough about mass hysteria to say whether that mass hysteria is tied up with the tribalism. Probably is. There's probably some relationship there. But I think it's that tribal mentality that really comes out, that sports brings out in people. Okay, quick, let's do these 3 movie reviews quickly. I don't want to go past 10 o'clock today, so we'll see, and we've still got a lot of super chat questions. Just to give you an update, we've got a lot of questions, but not a lot of big dollars, so we're way behind. We've only raised $233, so we're about $420 behind. So if anybody out there, $50, $100, wants to ask a question, now's the time. Over the next 40 minutes or so. we're going to be doing this. So feel free to jump in and ask those questions and engage. That would be great. As you know, this is how the Iran Book Show is supported. My time is supported much through the super chat that comes in here. All right, let's see. Yes, 3 movie reviews. Let's start with the freshest one because I just watched it tonight or this afternoon. I watched Top Gun, the new Top Gun movie in the theater. I loved it. What can I say? It's a fun movie. It has no great pretensions. It's if you actually analyze the plot and thought through the different things that were happening there, a lot of it, just doesn't make complete sense. It's full of kind of silly plot holes, but it's not pretending. It's not trying to be realistic. It's super fun. It's unapologetically heroic. It's what I said about sports, and it's so rare in movies where you have a hero that's just a hero. He's just pretty much perfect. He just pretty much does the right thing. He's capable. And the fact that he's doing things that a 20-something-year-old would find super impossible to do, and he's 50, you have to, this is where you have to just accept it for what it is. But Maverick is a heroic character, an unbelievable, efficacious character, a man of tremendous ability and courage, a man who cares about the people that he loves. Maverick is somebody you want to admire, respect, put up on a pedestal. He is truly a hero. He makes choices. This is not a deterministic movie. This is not just him playing along. There's a point in the movie, without giving it away, where he might be losing his assignment. He takes the initiative. He proves everybody wrong. He proves himself right in an amazing, dramatic, spectacular way. It's just one fun, hell of a ride that presents fighter pilots as heroic, efficacious, good. Basically, there's no bad guys in the movie. There's an arrogant kind of prick who plays one of the fighter pilots. You have to have one of those, and of course they're fighter pilots, so they're all a little bit arrogant pricks. But he's a good guy, right? And in the end, no matter what happens, he's with the good guys, and there's no question he'll do the right thing at the end of the day. There's a little bit of a personal drama that's involved that goes back to the first movie, Top Gun movie. So I do recommend watching the first Top Gun movie before you watch this, even though I think this is by far a better movie. And watch it on a big screen. Watch it I saw it on one of these screens where they also using the sides of the theater to project images. So it was really cool. It was a big screen. Go see it on IMAX if you can. But it's beautifully made, beautifully photographed. Oh, so some of the plot refers to the first movie. It's worth seeing the first movie to have the emotional carry on into the second, and you can connect easier to the different characters and what happened to them. Although they do a good job reminding you of what happened in the second movie. It's emotionally compelling. You get teary-eyed a few times during the movie. You care for the characters. Again, they're not deep, they're not sophisticated, but they're robust. And, while it plays a little bit to political correctness, like a woman has to be one of the fighter pilots gets chosen, but it's not that horrible, right? It's not in your face in any kind of way. What else can I say about the movie? The only thing I disliked about the movie was the music. I thought the music was mediocre at best and didn't rise up to the drama that is created in the movie. It needed a John Williams score, and it didn't get one. But I guess they were trying to mimic the music from the first one. but so I just, that's the only part I didn't really like. The acting is good. I mean, I like Tom Cruise. He's a Scientologist, which is an evil ideology. It's horrible. And they really do horrible things to people. And Tom Cruise is partially responsible for that. And he gets moral blame, and he should get moral blame for being a part of this horrific cult. But he's a good actor. He's really good. He's charismatic on screen. He has that look. He's unbelievably masculine, and a fighter pilot is an unbelievably masculine activity. And it's about controlling this machine and in that sense, controlling nature and defeating nature and overcoming nature and going up against massive physical obstacles. They go up to 10 Gs in this movie, and they all kinds of stuff. So it is really, 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 he's a good actor. He's a good actor. Probably a horrible human being, but a good actor. And, you get a little Val Kilmer in there, a very old and very sick Val Kilmer. And you get other good actors, Ham from what do you call that? I forget that TV series. I forget the name of it. Yeah, thumbs up. Thumbs up. If you just want to have fun, don't think about it too much. And there's nothing wrong with the movie except the plot is full of holes. But there's nothing really wrong with the movie. I don't think it says anything about American foreign policy. I don't think it projects any good foreign policy or anything like that. Mad Men is the show, yes. Ham for Mad Men. I could critique the military aspect of it to no end, but I'm not going to because that's not the point. It's just. No, I didn't just mean the 10 Mach 10. I meant 10 Gs. When they come up, when he's flying up, he gets to 10 Gs in terms of the what do you call it? Gravitational, 10x the gravity. It's pretty spectacular, and fun and exciting and well done. A movie, and it's just fun because they're using real F-18s. You get to see it all. The special effects. I mean, it's not special effects. These are real pilots. Everything they do in that is truly amazing. They also had Mach 10. They did two things. They had an experimental airplane at the beginning of the movie where he flies Mach 10. And then he does 10 Gs. Several of them do 10 Gs as they come up vertically out of a dive. So it's both. All right, let's see. Cool. So that is Top Gun. Yeah, I don't see any specific questions on Top Gun. Okay, okay. Second movie, Bronx Tale. Bronx Tale is a movie with Robert De Niro. It's set in the Bronx. It's got this very, very New York, Bronx kind of atmosphere. It's a very atmospheric movie. It's very well acted, very well made. Robert De Niro actually is also the director of the movie. I can't remember when it was made, but Robert De Niro is relatively young in the movie, so it was made quite a while ago. It's a story of a young boy growing up in the Bronx and his interaction with a local gangster, with a local tough guy who runs the streets. Who is the local gangster, and his father. It's his relationship with these two male figures, but primarily with the gangster. It's an interesting movie. It definitely captures the atmosphere. It definitely gets you engaged and hooked, and you want to see what happened. You care about the characters. It's got a strong elements of naturalism. The kid is not really doesn't really determine his fate except for one decision he makes early in the movie, whether to rat on the mafia boss or not. And once he makes that one decision, and arguably morally the wrong decision, basically the rest of his life is determined by other people. He is pushed and shoved by others. He's influenced by others. He almost gets himself killed because he's following his friends into something he doesn't believe in and doesn't agree with, and he gets saved by the gangster. So it definitely has strong elements of naturalism. The kid is not self-determined. He's not self-determined except, again, for that first decision and for falling in love with the wrong girl. Again, I'm trying not to give away too much of the plot, but he falls in love with the wrong girl. The movie deals with racism, I think well, you know, and the stupidity and ridiculousness and evil of racism. So I think it handles that really well. I think it fails in it projects the gangster as too nice. At least to this boy, but more broadly, it you know, other than one, maybe two, but one completely out of nowhere act of violence, he's not really portrayed as a bad guy. So there's much too much sympathy for the mafia boss. There's much too much sympathy for that culture. A certain admiration for it. It makes sense given De Niro's career. You know, you assume that he had some of that, given he's played gangsters and played them well through much of his career. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I'd say it's a good movie, but it's definitely got issues and challenges. Not one of my favorite movies. Not a movie I probably would watch again. I think the acting is good, particularly the kid is good. De Niro doesn't really have as big of a role as you would think for a De Niro movie. The gangster and his gang have much more of a role, and the kid's friends than the father does. He plays the kid's father, De Niro does. But you know, there's a lot in the atmosphere to like about the movie, and there is some suspense in it, although I don't think it's a particularly suspenseful movie in and of itself. All right. Lastly, we've got Star Trek, movie number 1. I think Shahzad asked me to watch this. You know, what can I say about Star Trek? There's certain things that are enjoyable about it. You know, I think there's the whole Star Trek nostalgia which it brings forward, which is fun. Kind of the admiration of Star Trek, the admiration the characters have for themselves, in a sense, for the Enterprise, for what they do. You know, when Captain Kirk first sees the new Enterprise that's just been refurbished and redone, he's got this amazing look on his face of wonder and admiration, and this is a huge value to him, and it comes across. But that scene drags on forever. It's way too long. You get the point. Done. They go around and around the Enterprise to show you every angle for no good reason. Generally, the movie has a lot of empty space, a lot of stuff that just doesn't add much. It's enamored with visual effects. So there's a lot of visually beautiful things going on, but that have really nothing necessarily to do with the plot. The music is excellent. The music is very good. As it is, I think, in Bronx Tale, but here it's particularly good. And it goes with these visual elements that you get to see. In terms of the plot itself, it's an interesting premise. It's kind of an interesting story, but it can't go anywhere. It's kind of stuck. What does it mean for a machine to get a consciousness? What does it mean for a machine to get consciousness versus human consciousness that is tied in somehow to emotions, but they have no idea how it's tied into emotions and what function the emotions play and what function maybe evolution played in making human beings the way they are versus a machine that just becomes conscious because of the amount of data that it has. They have no clue where to take it. So it's dealing with an interesting issue, an interesting question. But it doesn't have any compelling answers. The ending, there's a certain surprise at the end. But then the added surprise, the fusion of human with machine, is silly and inexplicable. And of course, it just goes from that scene where there's this fusion and boom, everything's fine and everything's okay, and that world disappeared and went away. Where is this new life form that's been created? Where did it go? I can't say. It was, it was okay, but it didn't really engage me emotionally, partially because I think some of those scenes were too dragged out and too boring to really engage me intellectually. It didn't really engage me because I knew that the people who made the movie didn't really have answers to the questions that they were posing. So the questions were interesting. The questions were big. The questions were dramatic. But there were no real answers. And you knew they wouldn't have any answers because, it's a really tricky thing to answer. I think from memory, the best Star Trek movie was The Wrath of Khan, which was either the second or the third. I can't remember. I think that's the best of the movies from what I can remember, but I can't remember the plot of any of them. I just remember liking that. And I don't remember really liking enthusiastically any of the others. Yeah, that's my 3 quick movie reviews for you. Let's see. We are, $400 behind targets. I don't know what's going on today. We have no whales. We have nobody putting in more than $20. We've got a bunch of people putting in 20, but not enough people putting in 20 to get us to anywhere close to our goal of $650 a show. So I don't know what I have to do to shake you up and wake you up. All right. I don't think I pressed the start button for the movie reviews. All right. This system of timestamps I'm struggling with it because I keep forgetting to do what I'm supposed to do. All right, maybe we'll figure out how to improve it. Dave, so we're going to go to the Super Chat. Dave asks, it's amazing how Robert De Niro can be such a brilliant and thoughtful actor, yet a complete airhead leftist in his private life. I don't understand why that's amazing, right? I mean, you've got Nobel Prize winners in physics who are complete airhead socialists. You've got some of the greatest business leaders in all of human history being leftists. It's yeah, I mean, why would acting be any different, right? So I don't judge businessmen based on their politics. I don't judge actors based on their politics. I judge based on the value they provide to me. And then I can judge them separately on the basis of their philosophical views. And I can judge them pretty harshly on that basis. But it doesn't stop me from admiring them as actors, athletes, businessmen. All right, let's run through these quickly. I think none of these are... Oh, Jeremy says, I believe the 2000, especially 2002 Western Conference Finals were rigged for better ratings outcomes. There's a strong evidence. I'm also highly suspicious of 2016. I don't remember any of those in particular. And yeah, I'm very, very skeptical. And the burden of evidence is very, very high. And I've not seen any of the evidence, so I'm going to remain skeptical. All right, let's see. Anything else on movies? Jason says, reminder, Hustle on Netflix. Do you need a full movie review? But if it is not one of the best basketball films you ever seen in recent times, let me know. I stand by my Whiplash comparison. I mean, I'll probably watch it, but for a movie review, Shazbot has put up $500 for those reviews, so I can't undercut him by charging less. But thanks for the recommendation, and I will try to catch it, and maybe I'll comment on it. All right. Let's see. That Doodle Bunny. Why is there a right to life? Is it an axiom? No, it's not an axiom. If we want to be free to use our reason to flourish, we need a right to life. But where does that right to life come from? From our decision. It seems imposed. The right to life comes from the need to be free of coercion, of violence, of force when one lives in a society. It comes from that need. It comes from that legitimate, objective human need to be able to use our mind free. So it doesn't come from anywhere external. It comes from a realization. It comes from a realization. Oh, in order to flourish in a society, the only way for individuals to do that is to accept the general principle that every individual has a right to life. And that is what's recognized in the Declaration of Independence. That's the job of government, is to protect that. But it's not some mystical thing. It's not some external thing. It's a concept. It's an idea. It's an idea about how we organize people, how we organize them. So it's not that rights rights exist in some other dimension and we capture them. No, it's that if we're going to live in a society and be successful at it, we better have rights. And what do those rights constitute? Well, right to life. I highly, highly, highly recommend reading Rand's essay, Man's Rights. It's both in The Virtue of Selfishness and in Capitalism, Not an Unknown Ideal. The Man's Rights is a must-read to understand the concept of rights. So that is what the right to life means, right? But I don't know if I did a good presentation of it. It would be good to read Ayn Rand's essay. Why were you nervous about interviewing Deirdre McCluskey? Do you often get nervous about being interviewed or interviewing debates? I don't get nervous usually ever by being interviewed or by doing debates. I do get nervous about interviewing other people because it's not a skill I have. It's not something I've developed. I don't know exactly how to do it. Don't think I'm particularly good at it. So it is something new to me. But the other reason is Deirdre is in a certain world. She's a big shot, and it was important for me for a variety of reasons to make a good impression, and I wanted to have a good relationship with her. So I was nervous because, and I'm not a skilled interviewer, so I don't find that comes naturally. But if somebody I know and somebody I'm friendly with, then it's easy. Somebody I don't know and I respect, it's hard. And it's also hard because I know I'm going to disagree with them, but I'm the interviewer. I'm not here to debate. So how do you hold that line of engaging with somebody and disagreeing with them without getting into debate because you're the interviewer and it's not your job to debate them? So that's a challenge. Why I don't have a lot of interviews on my show. It's why I don't interview people I disagree with, because I don't know how to create that balance when I disagree with them. Again, I did that wrong. Okay. James Taylor asks, Ron DeSantis just suspended sales tax on most items in Florida for 1 year. to help combat inflation. He might be Reagan-esque, the Reagan-esque president that turns things around or at least slows them down significantly. Maybe. I mean, one can be hopeful. As you know, I'm skeptical about DeSantis because I think he's a real, Reagan talked the culture wars but never really did anything about the culture wars when he was president. DeSantis understands that in the Republican Party today, to get elected and to maintain the love of the people, you have to be engaged and you have to show results in the culture wars. I worry about him vis-a-vis the culture wars. What he's done in Florida on a number of different issues, I think is very scary and very, very bad. I think fighting when you're on the wrong side of the issue is not a virtue, even if the other side more broadly is wrong. If you fight on an issue where you're wrong, I don't think Biden is scary. Biden is a nothing. I don't find him scary at all. Anyway, so I hope DeSantis turns out to be Reagan-esque. People I've talked to about DeSantis say he is Reagan-esque in terms of economic policy, and he just does the culture stuff because he knows he needs that to get elected. I don't know. We'll see how the election evolves and how he positions himself vis-a-vis an election. He handled COVID well. Of all the governors, maybe the best. If he suspended all sales taxes in Florida for a year, that's a good thing. If Florida can afford to do it for a year, why can't it afford to do it for longer? But that's a separate question. I'm not sure where revenue comes into Florida. If they suspended it for a year, where do they get the revenue, given that there's no income tax in Florida? So I'd want to see what he's exactly doing. Where's Florida getting the money? Because what really matters in when it comes to the economics of it and the rights of it, what really matters is cutting spending, not cutting taxes. So is DeSantis going to be good on cutting spending? Is DeSantis willing to stand up on the crucial issues of Medicare and Social Security, on cutting other types of spending and cutting subsidies and cutting goodies for business? Those are the real challenges. During a pre-election period, giving everybody a 1-year suspension of sales taxes is nice, but it doesn't really have an impact. I mean, Florida running a surplus is great. Maybe they could just use the surplus to, I don't know what the debt is. Yeah, Florida's been among the best governed states, not just with DeSantis, even before DeSantis, in the country. So good for Florida. I just worry of politicians. Michael asked, does philosophy only spread in chunks? Different pieces of it get adapted by different segments of the society at different times, and we can't predict when and why. I think so. I don't think philosophy spreads as one big wave. I think it gets spread in pieces. Different parts of the culture get affected differently by it. It only gets spread ultimately in that it gets applied. It's not like, for example, Enlightenment philosophy spread because a bunch of people, the populace, started embracing Enlightenment philosophers, reading Enlightenment philosophy, and living it. It's that Enlightenment philosophy impacted people in positive ways in various professions that then changed the way those professions were done and the way they lived in a particular field. And that was done in multiple places, in multiple areas, in multiple fields. And ultimately what that generated is a complete cultural change that you can say the Enlightenment was responsible. But it wasn't one thing, and it wasn't all in one wave. It was little changes all over the place that accumulated into very, very big, massive changes. I mean, big ideological changes that manifest themselves in little existential changes. God, the porn sites have really found us today. I have no idea what is going on. Did I say something? Is there something in the title that would attract them all? All right. We're going to do some under $20 questions quickly. Again, we're about $400 short of our goal. If anybody wants to step in and make sure that Catherine is motivated to keep going so she doesn't fail with her assignment, feel free to jump in. Unfortunately, given the topic, we've got a lot fewer people watching live than usual. The sports topic and the movie topic is not one that I get a lot of live watches. For that, we have to do politics and economics, so primarily politics. Let's see. Catherine says she can't fail. So, guys, you got to help her, guys and gals. All right, Frank just put in $50. So let's do this quickly. J.C. Unwin in 1934 said, sex and culture argued from 5,000 years of evidence that strict monogamy was crucial for a high-energy, rational society. Do you see monogamy as profoundly important institution? I do. I do think ultimately it's an important institution and is probably the stable equilibrium of relationships for the most part. But I don't think necessarily that any other arrangement is impossible. I don't think necessarily for any individual it can't happen. I don't think society should ban non-monogamous relationships. I don't think society or the government or anybody else should discriminate against people who choose not to be in monogamous relationships. While I think that ultimately it is optimal for most people, I don't think it has to be optimal for every person. I don't think that you have to sacrifice your particular sex life, if you will, for the sake for the sake of what's good to establish a culture. Now, we haven't had a lot of experimentation over the last 5,000 years. I'll add that. What we've had, we haven't had a lot of experimentation. We haven't had societies in which, let's say, women have had relationship with multiple men. We've had men having relationship with multiple women. So the last 5,000 years is not a long time. It's not a lot of human experience. It's a lot of that 5,000 years was shaped by religion. You could argue that Muhammad's Arabs in the beginning of Islam were super high energy for their time, not less rational than anybody else around them, certainly more rational than the Christians around them, and they were polygamous. So I guess I don't even buy that. I do think that, again, I think that monogamy is important because it's a certain, it creates a certain equilibrium that is crucial, and it doesn't create a massive imbalance between men and women, which is another advantage. But I'm not convinced that for every human being under every circumstances, at every point in life, that is the only solution for relationships. And I don't see why it has to be. And I've read the books about monogamy and marriage. And yes, as compared to polygamy, polygamy is very problematic. Polygamy as a cultural phenomena is very problematic because a lot of men don't have women, and that leads them historically, typically, to war. Whoa, Shazbat. Shazbat has just taken us to very close to our goal by assigning me another movie review. So this one is for A Taste of Armageddon. It's an episode from Star Trek, the original series, and his favorite episode. So I will watch that. I always like the original Star Trek. I think that they're the most philosophical. But all right, I will watch it, let you know. Hopefully I didn't disappoint you too much on the review of the movie, which I wasn't overly enthusiastic about. All right. Hopper Campbell asks, did you watch 2,000 Mules by Dinesh D'Souza? No, I don't watch D'Souza movies. They're cheap propaganda. It's just, I mean, why would I watch this when I despise his others and I generally despise his views on so many things? there's no reason. I have read the fact checks on mules, 2,000 mules, and they're devastating. So it's just not serious, and so it's not. It's so geared and motivated and partisan and speculative, and then when you read the fact checkers, full of holes, full of discrepancies. Just not interested. And the fact checkers were people on the right, not people on the left. Right? Michael asks, what is the motivation for regulating low-income housing out of existence in these big blue cities? Partially to keep poor people out, not in my backyard. Partially because there's this notion of the philosopher king, and people shouldn't live without a bathroom for every bedroom. People shouldn't be able to do that's not right. For people to only have one bathroom for 4 bedrooms. That's not right. I grew up like that. 6 people in a house with one bathroom, 1 toilet, 1 shower, 1 bathtub. We survived, 6 people. But that's not acceptable to the elites, to the philosopher kings who think, oh no, and then they don't think, because they don't think that, but if we actually have 1 bathroom per bedroom, it'll be too expensive. That never crosses their mind because they're detached from reality. They're detached from this world. Well, then let the government build it and let them build it cheap and we'll subsidize it. But that screws up everything as well. Right? So they're not connected to the real world. Liam asks, is there anything in objectivist metaphysics epistemology that would rule out a future perpetual motion device, or is it only in physics? I don't know. I think it's probably only in physics. Sounds weird, physics and metaphysics. I don't think so, other than the basic laws of physics. And some of the basic laws of physics are borderline metaphysical, but that's the best I can do with it. So, no, I don't think it's a philosophical issue. I think it's a scientific issue. James Taylor, have you seen Jordan Peterson quoting Ayn Rand repeatedly on his Facebook? No, I haven't. That's pretty cool if he's doing that. Again, I don't think he's exactly an adherent, and he said some pretty negative things about Ayn Rand's philosophy. But if he's quoting Ayn Rand, good for him. It'll get the word out there. Publicity is a good thing. Publicity is a good thing. Thanks, James. Jason, shouldn't transgenders lead the way in forming their own leagues and events and let everyone compete in sports regardless of gender in areas where men and women do not currently compete? I mean, yeah, I think transgenders should form their own league, absolutely. They certainly shouldn't participate in the league opposite from the gender they were born with, and that they still mostly have. So, absolutely, the whole idea of a man who transitions to a woman and then competes with women is shocking, disgusting, horrific, and unfair, and just wrong in every dimension. So, actually, this is a sports question. I didn't realize that, Jason. If transgender want to compete in sport, they should compete with other transgenders. And I don't think women and men should compete against each other because sport is a physical activity. I think John McEnroe said, as good as Serena Williams ever was, she would rank 100th in the men rankings. Now, whether that's exactly right or not, I don't know. But, that's huge. But that's big. So why deny us the ability to see women compete? Just because, because they, we've decided they have to compete against men. So I'd like to see men leagues and women's leagues, and if transgenders want to have a league, let them form a league. then they want equal pay, just like the women's soccer just got equal pay with men's soccer, which also is a travesty. Topic for another time. Okay, Michael asks, will the new Tesla smartphone be better than the iPhone? You think you'll get one? No. Nothing is going to be better than the iPhone. Look, when it comes to iPhones, I am a bit of a, fanboy. It would take a lot to break me out of the ecosystem, because it's not just the iPhone. It's connected to my computers, and it's connected to my Apple TV, and it's connected to my headphones, and it's just a whole. I bought into the entire ecosystem. If the phone would have to be dramatically better for me to actually leave the iPhone. Cook asks, what do you think about all these European immigrants coming to the NBA to take good-paying jobs from American athletes? I mean, it's actually worse than that. The African immigrants coming to the NBA, taking jobs from good American-paying jobs, horrible, isn't it? Europeans, Africans, next we'll get Asians. Where's the end of it? What's the end of it? And these are good, really good paying American jobs. Yes, we're being sarcastic. I love it. Free trade, free movement of human beings. Let the talent win out. Yes, there have been good Asian players in the NBA. I know. Just not that many. Michael asks, did you see objectivist Dan Norton debate Econ Boy? No, I haven't seen it. Econ Boy is thoroughly dishonest. It doesn't shock me, but I did not see Dan debate him. Cook says, objectivists are like Kant. I'm not sure I get it. Okay, by the way, we're $70 short of our goal of $650. $70. We can make it. Catherine, where are you? $70. You should be able to get somebody to jump in. All right, let's see. Frank, is it true that President Nixon imposed a 90-day freeze on wages and prices in order to counter inflation? Yes. Absolutely true. 1973? Can you talk about this? Of course it didn't work. How can it work? God, Ayn Rand wrote a series of brilliant essays on this. Of course it didn't work. It was a disaster. It only distorted, perverted, created more shortages, distorted the entire supply chain, made everything worse in the economy. And this is President Nixon, a Republican. And it was an unbelievable disaster. It would take me a long time to go walk you through it, and I'd have to do a little bit of research to remind myself of the exact dates and what inflation was and what inflation was a little bit afterwards. I'll do it some show. I'll dedicate it to that. I covered it a little. Yeah, I don't think I've ever covered that. Yeah, let me put it aside and dedicate one of my more economic shows to it. John, thank you. John has done half of it, so we'll only show $35. Somebody jump in with $35, and we've made it. I've got two questions. One of them I'm Googling because I embarrassingly have forgotten the name of the restaurant. Okay, so Catherine asks, what's the name of Jeff's restaurant in New York City? It's Rosella, R-O-S-E-L-L-A. R-O-S-E-L-L-A. And the website is rosellanyc.com. Highly recommended. Excellent food. Objectivist chef. get the chef's table where you sit in front of the chef, you can chat with him, and he just feeds you whatever he thinks is good that day. Wonderful. Just a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'm looking forward to being back in New York and going to the restaurant again. Yeah, looking forward to it. Candace says, what's your favorite Michelin star restaurants? God, this one's hard. This one is hard. I've been to so many good ones. I can tell you my favorite American Michelin star restaurant. My favorite restaurant in the United States of America is in Chicago. It's called Alinea, and it is just a spectacular, fun, super expensive, maybe one of the most expensive places ever anyway, restaurant experience that you'll ever have. It's amazing, and it's in Chicago, Alinea. I don't have really restaurant recommendations for Washington, D.C., although Washington, D.C. is a base for one of my favorite chefs, although I haven't been to as many of his restaurants in D.C., and that's Jose Andre, has a lot of restaurants in Washington, D.C. What is in the world my favorite? God. Maybe Azamundi in outside of San Sebastian in Spain. Or just recently I ate this fatu in Barcelona, which was amazing. Only 2 stars, not 3 like Azamundi, but amazing food. Azamundi was amazing. I'm trying to think of other. Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that just jump out at me as favorite all-time kind of restaurants in the world. I've had some great meals in Paris. But I still think the best Michelin star restaurants in the world are actually in Spain. In Spain. I've had amazing best meals in my life have been in Spain. I have not been to Benu yet. Benu's in San Francisco, I think. I've not done the San Francisco food scene, unfortunately. Ooh, I was supposed to start that. The food, Michelin just answered that. Shazbot with $20. So we're only short 15, guys. One $15 question if we made a goal. Shazbot asks, what did you think of the transporter accident scene from Star Trek movie? Did it give you second thoughts about trying it when it gets invented? Yes, definitely. I mean, Harry Binswanger explained why philosophically, metaphysically, the whole idea of a transporter is impossible, and that's what has given me second thoughts about it. But it's still my favorite invention of all time, if it was possible, and if it was safe. But yes, the transporter goes wrong, and because the transporter, what it does is, it does. See, I don't understand why it can't reconstruct your molecules. I mean, it doesn't have a backup copy of all your molecules. So I don't get the science, right? Because why can't I have a backup copy and then still recreate you in the original place? Because you're not actually transporting my molecules over there. You're recreating my molecules over there. So why can't you recreate my molecules anywhere? And why can you transport more than one of me? Can there be multiple me's running around the universe? Yeah, probably not. So what does it actually mean to transport somebody? I don't know. So, okay, Shazbad, now I'm even more confused about Star Trek technology than I was before. All right, guys. Thank you, Shazbad. Thank you for the $250. Thank you, everybody who participated in the Super Chat. We are $15 short, so Catherine is going to cry herself to sleep tonight. She's not going to be happy, but we came close, and we did beat a previous goal, so we were over 600. We just couldn't quite make it to 650. But we did great last show. So what was it, yesterday? So I think we're okay on average. We're still averaging over 650. I don't know if I'm going to do a show tomorrow. I might be going on a road trip here in Puerto Rico. We'll see if I get back in time. So, there's Dave just says Jeff's restaurant is awesome and gave $20 so Catherine can go to sleep tonight. So, Catherine, you basically owe Dave. He saved you. All right. I'm not sure about tomorrow. Not sure about Monday. Certainly Tuesday and Thursday we'll have shows. We will have either a show tomorrow or Monday. So if no show tomorrow, then I'll try to do one on Monday. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the support. If you're not live and you still want to support the Yaron Brook Show, the way to do it is on yaronbrookshow.com/support, on Patreon, on Subscribestar. You can set up a monthly payment scheme thing, and we incredibly value it here on the show. I incredibly value it here on the show. I hate when people talk in third person. But no, there's a team here. They get paid. I pay them salaries, so we have to pay them. So they also value it when you contribute more money, because then I have more money to pay them. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for the super chatters. I will see you all soon. And if you want to get me to review a TV show, it's $250, a movie $500. Happy to do it. Bye, everybody.